Hi guys, today I have a few tips for you to shoot paid travel videos, so in a tourism niche, and this is what I did over the past few years before Corona started. And I shot mostly for backpacking tour companies there, so group tours, but also for spas and an event place and so on. So the tips will be mostly about when you're with groups. I would say let's start with the first tip, and it should be an obvious one actually, but it seems like it's not, because actually from a backpacking company that I worked with, the owner, he is a friend of mine, and I talked with him also why they keep shooting more and more videos with me, like what separates me from others. And one thing that he told me was simply that other people seem it more like holiday with the occasional video shoot, while I'm more the person that constantly has a camera in his hand and is shooting, and therefore of course I can expect a much better video. If you get more footage, of course the video will be better, you have more options in the edit, and of course if you don't do even that, then a company doesn't want to work with you.
Shooting for my iPhone 12 Pro video right now will be a good one. Subscribe for that.
Let's directly talk about tip 2, and that is that you should also do the opposite, like not directly the opposite, but you should also engage of course with the group and enjoy your time, because simply if you have friends in the group, it mustn't be like the whole group, just maybe a few people that you're cool with, then at first, if it's ladies, then you have someone to pose for you. That makes your videos better. But also when it comes to shooting interviews, which I find super important for travel videos like that, to share the experience of the participants. And if you have friends, if you are cool with the people, it's a lot more likely that people step in front of the camera and talk about their experience. So it's all about finding a good balance there. Overall, you want to make sure that you're part of the group, but you also want to make sure that you get all the shots you need. That was actually a bit of a problem for me on the first tour, because I'm not actually a group person, I would say. I usually prefer smaller groups, maybe 2 or 3 people that I'm a bit closer with, so I'm a bit more introverted there. And I'm also super passionate about camera stuff and travel, so instead of actually participating with the group, I was more doing my thing there all the time. And that wasn't perfect. I still made a good video there, but it could have been better. So with the following tours, I forced myself a little bit to participate more in the group and therefore also get a better video. And of course, I must actually say it was also a bit more fun then. Today is actually a good example again why it's always good to go for a sunrise, even on cloudy days like today where the sun is barely visible. It's just here in the mountain, like when you go for sunrise, you either see the sun, like a nice sunrise, or you have all the fog and mist in the air, however you want to call it. Always looks good in the morning, as you could see in the shots here before. Super beautiful. But let's talk about the next tip, and that's also a mistake that I made in the beginning, but it was not just my mistake, it was like 50% me, 50% the company, and that was to really make sure what shots you need to get, or what's important for the company you're shooting for to show in their video. So for example, the company that I shot for, they wanted to have an overview video of every tour, and there was important at first to show really every single activity they have, but also to show all the hotel rooms, food and so on. So they pretty much wanted to have everything. But it is really hard to define everything there, because there are so many things that you can do on a trip. And is it just what's on their schedule, or is it also what people do in their free time and so on? And so on the first tour it was not really clear. On the second tour it was like a little bit clear, but not 100%. So on the third tour we finally figured it out and made a list of what has to be in the video and what not. And I would strongly encourage you to do the same, like really either call or sit down with a company and make a list with everything that needs to be covered, every single activity, hotels, where should you make videos of food, what about free time, should you just show some general things that people could do in their free time, or is it not that important or so? Really specify every single part of your video that you need to get. And this is also the point where if the company wants you to go on a trip again or so to get more shots, you can say then also they have to pay more because they did not specify that before in the list. So really do it for yourself, but also do it for the company. I mean, you want to shoot a great travel video, but you also want to make sure that you don't have too much work. So do both of you a favor by simply doing a list before. And one more important thing when it comes to group tours is to educate them at the beginning of the tour, for example, on the initial meeting. I actually have a funny story there, and that is that I love to use foreground objects for all of my videos to make the camera motion more visible and also to make the shots more interesting. And I did not tell that the group before, so one day I was standing behind a plant getting some shots of some girls from the group, and they suddenly looked at me super weird, like, hey, what are you doing there? Are you stalking us or what? And then I went to them, I showed them the shot, and I told them why I'm standing behind the plant there while I got a shot of them. But it was a super weird situation, so they were not really comfortable there. So it's definitely better to educate the group at the beginning of the tour about stuff like that. What you should also mention in general is that if something bad happens in front of the camera, maybe something weird, something awkward, then tell them that it will be deleted later, and actually delete it, because that's obviously nothing that you should have on your drive, and it should definitely not land on the internet. So make sure that that doesn't happen, and usually people are totally fine with that, especially if you tell them before. And let's come to the next tip that I mentioned a bit before already, and that is that you should use your free time also to get more shots, because there are certain shots that you just can't get while you're with the group. For example, what I love to do is simply to get a day to night or night to day time lapse, because that's always a good transition in the video from the daytime activities to nighttime partying, etc. Generally, time lapses are super good always to put them in between. Also, drone shots. Oftentimes you can get drone shots when you're with the group. Actually, some people like to see that, how everything works from my experience. But of course, that's not always possible. The group doesn't want to wait for you, etc. So oftentimes it's also better to capture a few drone shots by going or traveling around a bit in that area in your free time. So definitely use your free time for that. Let's also talk a bit more about getting hotel shots or generally shots of your accommodation. And you don't have to be a super good real estate photographer for that, but the most important point here is really to get your shots before you bring your stuff inside the room. I constantly got that wrong, because after a day of traveling or so, you're tired and you just want to lay down. So it's very easy to just throw your stuff inside and lie on the bed. But by doing so, you mess the room up, and then it comes into your mind, hey, wait, I have to get shots of that room. And then it starts, you have to bring your stuff out again, you have to clean everything up, which obviously sucks. So when you arrive at the place, leave your stuff outside, get the room shots first. Doesn't take long, 3 to 5 minutes, and you're usually done. And then you already got all your shots there. And another really important tip is to capture emotions of the people. A good example was when we've been to the monkey forest in Ubud, Bali, because there it's like you have all the monkeys around you and your instinct tells you to get shots of the monkeys because that's the main attraction. But what's also at least equally important, if not more important, is to also capture the emotion of the people. Like all the girls standing there super excited, never seen a monkey before in their life, and they see it for the first time, and you want to capture this emotion. So always don't just think about the main subject that they see right now, but also always think about the people and try to get some shots of their faces. Then in the final video you can always blend it, like you first show the monkeys, then you show how the people react to it, etc. That makes your travel videos so much better there because you capture emotion. And by the way, if you want to know more about how I shoot my videos, all the techniques I use, how I edit them, how I color grade them, and also how I get clients, definitely check out Learn with Pascal. It's a new learning platform that I launched around a month ago, and there I really show you everything how I do it. So I will leave a link to that in the description below. And one thing that I learned the hard way was to always have a backup camera with you. So what happened was, we've been in Vietnam. We did a hike somewhere in the jungle and we had heavy monsoon rain. And I had the Panasonic GH5 with me, which is supposed to be weather sealed. Also the lens was weather sealed, but it was not monsoon rain sealed. Like, weather sealed doesn't mean that it can withstand every rain, doesn't matter how heavy it is. And so after a while of shooting there in the rain, this camera broke down and I did not have a backup camera with me. So the morning next day I had to take a bus back to Hanoi, and then I had to buy another GH5 there because of course I needed to shoot the rest of the trip. Problem there of course was that I lost nearly 2 days of footage there, which was definitely a problem because there were some nice activities around Tamcock. So in that case it would have definitely been better to at least have a cheap backup camera with me, like something like a Canon M6 Mark II, a Sony ZV-1 or something like that. Just a camera that makes it possible to shoot for a few days to at least capture the activities, even if it's not the most high quality shot there. Because just 2 days later we had the longest stay in one hotel in Hoi An, so it would have been possible to order a camera to the hotel in that case, and that would have meant that I would not have lost any footage there or any part of the activities. So definitely always bring a backup camera with you. It mustn't be an expensive one, really just either point and shoot or a smaller APS-C camera, as long as it has at least digital image stabilization, maybe a stabilized lens or so that you can get some shots straight out of your hand. It does the job. Man, the stairs are fucking hard every time. And to end the video here, let's also give you another more general tip, and that is to get the Rode Wireless Go 2 microphone. I have it at my place right now. It's super good because you can capture audio from 2 people at the same time, and it has so many safety functions that it's pretty hard to mess the audio up, and that is something that constantly happens on the go. So at first it's great to have 2 microphones there, 2 lavalier mics or 2 wireless mics, transmitters, because then you can capture interviews with 2 people at the same time. And that's awesome because interviews with 2 people at the same time are so much easier, because then the people are not just talking to you, a person that they don't know, but they also talk with each other, and that automatically means that they share a bit more of their experiences, especially if friends travel together in that group and you make an interview with them. They talk so much more and they are so much more open. It's definitely better to get multiple person shots, and having 2 microphones there is a huge advantage. So definitely get this microphone. So I think that's enough for today. I hope the tips were helpful and that you enjoyed the footage here. If yes, then please leave me a thumbs up. And also don't forget to hit subscribe and the bell notifications button for upcoming videos. I publish at least once per week. So see you in the next one.